Welcome back. Yes, we're still talking about extortion, demanding money by Menace, and Inspector Michelle Lewis joins us on set to represent the TTPS. Good morning, Inspector.
Morning, morning.
I'm happy we got all the things sorted out, and
Yes.
you're on with us now. Love to have that. All right. So we got a chance to read through some of your data that you would have
Yes.
sent. Thank you so much for bringing it, like you did promise last week. I
Yes.
appreciate it very, very much. Did I get it right in terms of the detection and the...
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
Yes, you
reported
did.
and detection. So
Yes.
we see the jump in the number that you mentioned last week, and then but we also see a great amount of them have been solved.
That's right.
So, I mean, that's good, right? You feel good about that?
Yes, yes. And over
All
the,
right.
the 5-year period, well, of course, as you saw for 2023, 95% detection rate, which is really well.
Yeah.
Because the international benchmark is 30%.
30 is the international
Yeah.
benchmark. Okay.
And for all offences, SRCs in the service, we have reached the benchmark of 30%.
Well, we definitely surpassed
But of
that.
course,
Yeah.
better is having a higher detection
And it's
rate.
definitely welcomed.
Yeah.
I would have mentioned to you off air that the part of the data that I really want to see the breakdown of who some of these people would have been.
Right.
Because, people always assume, based on whatever experiences they may have had or whatever things they may have heard. And Natasha even mentioned it just now where she said, sometimes people within the system or the service are sometimes the people are the perpetrators in some cases. Now, I know we don't have that data. However, we were just talking about what the process is that happens. Let's say, God forbid, that a police officer was to be charged with something like extortion. What the process would normally be?
Okay, so any officer who is charged for a criminal offense, before the open court, separate and apart from whatever internal disciplinary matter that will take place, that person would receive from the Commissioner of Police a letter indicating not to suspend him or her from active duty. And based on whatever the magistrate would have instructed, whether that person is to hand in their passport, whether that person is to report to the nearest police station in their district Monday, Wednesday between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. All that applies to a police officer as if it's a person who's accused. So there is no special treatment where that is concerned.
Tell me, for people who may still be concerned about, where do I go exactly to report this and be safe in doing so? Because some people still have a distrust, some people still are wary about, where do I go? Who do I go to? How do I know I can trust this one versus that one? Or how does it work? How is the best way you would suggest?
The mistrust is real, so I agree with you there. And one of the things that the police service has done at the office of the commissioner and the deputy commissioner is provide another number, another safe net where persons can call. So that number is 736 TTPS, which is 8877. And that call goes directly to the deputy commissioner and to the commissioner. So it passes a lot of ranks in the service and goes directly. If you're of the opinion that if you were to report it in your division or to a station based on the content, that it may not get the attention or it might not be treated in the level of integrity that it's expected to.
So you can definitely take it straight to the top, essentially.
You can.
And what happens if your challenge is up there? If you have some very influential people who look at the morning show and they're looking on them and they say, what if I have a challenge that is at that level? Who do I then report it to?
Well, I cannot say at that level that we have had suspicions or reports coming at the executive level.
Right.
We would have heard it from lower ranks. Lower ranks in the service, second division officers and that kind of thing, where, the allegations have come forward.
Right.
So to suggest that at that rank in the law enforcement in Trinidad and Tobago police service, that cannot be trusted, that's really, really far-fetched. And to put that thought out in people's mind that they can't even trust the commissioner of police or even the deputy commissioner of police is not one that we even want to support in verbal, because it's not something that is real in Trinidad and Tobago police service.
Yeah, but why I ask that is because I know that some people want to go straight to the police complaints authority. Is that a recommended approach? Do we go to Crime Stoppers? So I know you mentioned the 736 TTPS, which is always the valid number to call.
Yeah.
But I was just asking in terms of the other aspects of things. If you still say, because like you said, the mistrust is real, right? So if I'm still concerned that just the fact that the number have TTPS and it makes me feel uncomfortable, I was asking if there's another place that I can go to as well. So like is the police complaints authority relevant in this case?
The police complaints authority is relevant to making a report against the police who would have allegedly committed the offense of extortion or any criminal offense. Right. But you also have, through different stations, police town meetings, which generally is in that town meeting, you will have assistant commissioner of police, which is the rank just after the deputy, which is an officer that forms the executive of the organization. And you can go directly to that officer and have a conversation with that officer one-on-one. Without even trading any item or anything like that, and then, you know, he can make an arrangement. There is also the officer who is in the division, and his office is also available.
And is it that every area has an assistant commissioner attached to it?
Yes. Every division has an assistant commissioner of police attached to it.
Nice. So we can go
separate
to
and
anyone
apart from a senior superintendent.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's lovely. That's good to know. All right. So anything else we need to know about extortion this week?
Right. So we want to give some tips because we've already gone through the data and recognize the increase, right? So we looked at last week, we looked at business owners, and we spoke about some of the things that they can do, have that networking among business owners in collaboration with the police service. Of course, having your business place well lit, both internal and external. And for example, when your business is operating at late hours, you can have your door locked or closed.
Until
and
a customer
when you
comes.
see that person and you are comfortable with you have no suspicion that this person is going to conduct a bona fide trade, then you can allow your door to open or open the door, right? Also, where we have persons who have businesses, sometimes they also target where you live. So it's also important that even though you may be paying particular attention to your business place, that you also increase security at your dwelling house. One of the things that we really want to cause person to desist is doing transaction via cash. Now, you had mentioned last week that sometimes people come around offering security or some other kind of thing. When you start to do the transaction in cash, that should raise some kind of flag. It doesn't matter whether the person say to you that I'm now starting up and that kind of thing. Ensure that the person is legitimate and it's a bona fide business that they're conducting. Whenever you start to operate with cash, it doesn't have anything for which you can trace. Because you have been using cash all the time, and there's nothing to say that, you know, I have in fact given this person $20,000 to provide this for me, and now the person is coming back. And it also says that there's a name attached to, a proper name attached to, because for you to have a bank account, you need to provide certain things.
A registered business name, for example.
And an address for the business and all of that. So it's important that you do not encourage, cash transaction, and that, of course, will assist you to eliminate yourself being a victim of this type of offense or any other type of offense.
All right, so we're looking at cashless transaction. We're looking at closing the doors if you're operating late at night until you feel comfortable enough to open it. And we're looking at ramping up security around the home and around the business.
Yes. And of course, generally for residential areas, persons who do not have a business, because we also see this type of offense when it comes to land and property. So again, ensure that whoever is coming around, they are bona fide. That's really, really crucial. Having neighborhood watch groups is also important because it allows a police officer to be present within that community to assist when anything is happening. And don't be afraid to call on the officer at any time to get some advice if something does not look too well or sound too well. You know, that is what the police is there for. So if someone comes around your business place offering some kind of trade, just call the station and talk to the sergeant and say, you know, because the detection of crime is one thing, but the prevention of crime is another. And this is really what we prefer, reduce crime, reduction, so that persons feel more comfortable to go about their business. And
I think that part is very, very important, Inspector, because I think it's important for us to be able to trust that we will be able to have a relationship with the police whereby we can just trade, we can have conversation, and so you keep the police as aware as possible so that if they can see something that you may not be aware of, and you can say, hey, that is a red flag. Let me take note of that, and we'll, you know, make sure and adjust it going forward, or we could pay closer attention to check and see if it's bona fide, like you mentioned.
Most stations have a traffic section, apart from a CID and the reception area officers. So there are various officers.
You can build that relationship with.
Because right in front of your business, you might see a traffic officer there all the time. And use the police.
Well, Inspector, thank you very much for joining us this morning yet again and for bringing the data and the information. And we're definitely going to encourage people to continue to use the police to report the crimes that you're seeing, especially if you're experiencing them firsthand. I want to encourage you to report them as well. Thank you again, Inspector. We take a quick break and come back with more on the Now Morning Show. Stick around.
No one couldn't walk alone. Tongue was like a battle zone. But nowadays and so